Welcome to this explainer. When we talk about generative AI, the conversation is almost always dominated by the algorithms, the huge computing power, and just the rapid-fire innovation of it all. But actually, scratch that, because the real secret to AI lies in its invisible foundation. Today, we are exploring who is missing from Gen AI: data, bias, and representation. We're going to look at how raw data shapes these systems and why understanding exactly who is left out of that data matters so deeply for our everyday lives. So, where does AI training data actually come from? I know, it sounds like a super basic question, right? But seriously, think about the implications for a second. Who actually collected this data? Whose lived experiences and daily realities made the cut? And crucially, whose perspectives are completely left out of the equation? Because before an AI can generate a brilliant essay or stunning piece of art, it has to be taught. And the materials we use to teach it, well, they are absolutely not universally equal. Before we get distracted by the so-called magic of AI, we have to recognize one fundamental truth. Behind every AI system is something way more important than the algorithms, and that is raw human data. These systems do not just create knowledge out of thin air. They learn entirely from us. They're absorbing patterns from an enormous, pre-existing pool of information that human societies have been generating for years. So, what does this massive volume of human data actually look like? Well, it's kind of everything. Generative AI is ingesting books, websites, articles, those random daily social media posts we make, billions of images, mountains of code, and honestly, pretty much any other digital content it can find. It's rapidly running through everything we put online, learning our vocabulary and our associations. It's literally like a giant digital sponge just soaking up the entirety of human output on the internet. And because these systems are learning from that human-produced material, they act exactly like a mirror. They absorb the facts, sure, but they also absorb the inequalities, the assumptions, and the imbalances present within that data. AI is influenced not just by the sheer volume of data, but by which voices and which regions are the most visible online. Basically, if certain languages or communities are less represented on the internet, their perspectives are going to appear far, far less frequently in the AI's training data. Now, this brings us to a pretty harsh reality about digital accessibility. A community's visibility online depends heavily on things like reliable internet access, having available devices, native language support, and affordable tech. In a lot of regions across the globe, these basic digital resources are highly limited. And because of this, fewer local perspectives and everyday experiences make it into the digital sphere. So what happens? They are entirely missed by the web scrapers gathering data to train the next massive AI model. Which brings us to an even bigger question. Let's say we could magically get everyone's data online. Who actually holds the power to process all of it? Who decides how these AI systems are built in the first place? It's one thing to provide the raw material, but it is an entirely different thing to own and design the factory that processes it. Right now, there's a massive global imbalance in AI development. It's heavily concentrated within well-resourced institutions and companies located in the global north, so wealthier, industrialized regions with huge access to infrastructure and investment. Contrast that with the global south, which includes a lot of lower-income or historically underrepresented regions. While these regions contribute massive amounts of data to the global internet, they have significantly less influence over the actual technological development. So, what does this concentration of power actually look like in practice? It means organizations in the global north literally hold the keys. They control the massive computing infrastructure required to run the models, the curation of those huge training datasets, the actual model development itself, and ultimately access to the finished advanced AI systems. Because of this setup, these regions get to dictate which datasets are collected, what languages get prioritized, and how these systems are governed. What we are left with is a severe structural imbalance. We have global data contribution, but without global decision-making power. UNESCO and other international organizations have highlighted some really serious concerns about this dynamic. When communities contribute data but are left out of the governance or the economic benefits, it just reinforces existing global inequalities. The end result is an AI ecosystem that totally fails to reflect the true complex diversity of the human experience. And look, this structural imbalance isn't just theoretical. It manifests right in the tools we use every single day. Recent studies have shown exactly how large language models and image generators reproduce severe stereotypes. Like if you prompt an image generator for a CEO or a scientist, the output disproportionately depicts men. If you prompt for caregiving or administrative roles, it disproportionately depicts women. Language models heavily associate men with words like business or management, while linking women to home and family. It's wild, and it happens with geography too, where some regions are statistically associated almost entirely with narratives of poverty or conflict. But here's the thing, and it's absolutely crucial we remember this: AI systems do not understand stereotypes. They aren't thinking, and they aren't judging us. They are merely mathematical engines, learning statistical patterns from their training data and then reproducing those exact patterns in their generated outputs. But when these skewed narratives are repeated at an incredible scale by millions of users daily, they actively shape public perception and visibility. So how does this actually impact your daily life? Well, look at higher education. AI is rapidly becoming embedded in teaching, student assessments, how researchers compile their literature, and just general academic workflows. As educators and students adopt these tools to save time and boost creativity, there is a massive hidden risk. If we aren't careful, we're going to seamlessly reproduce these exact structural inequalities and historical stereotypes right into our classrooms and research papers. Which introduces the core solution: critical AI literacy. Simply knowing how to log in and write a clever prompt, yeah, that's no longer enough. This goes way beyond technical skills. It requires a fundamental critical reflection on data, representation, and fairness. It's about shifting our mindset from being passive consumers of AI outputs to becoming active interrogators of these systems. To actually practice critical AI literacy, here is an essential checklist you should walk through every time you use an AI tool. Number 1, what data was this system trained on? Number 2, which perspectives are highly represented in the output it just gave me? Number 3, crucially, whose perspectives are missing entirely? And number 4, how might historical inequalities be quietly shaping the answer I am looking at? Running through these 4 questions is going to protect you from blindly accepting biased outputs as absolute truth. Zooming out to the industry level, researchers and international organizations are demanding some major shifts to move us toward truly inclusive AI. We absolutely need more diverse datasets that reflect the entire globe. We need transparent governance so we actually know how these models are making their decisions. We need inclusive design practices that bring different voices into the room before a single line of code is written. And we need meaningful human oversight across the entire AI lifecycle. In reality, these inclusive practices require some very concrete steps. We're talking about specifically funding the representation of minority languages. It means involving local communities when designing systems that are going to affect them. It requires cross-cultural testing of these tools before they're just deployed to the public. It demands source transparency. And maybe most importantly, it means training students and professionals to evaluate AI for its social impacts, not just whether the tech runs fast. So to sum up the whole shebang for this explainer, improving AI is not just an engineering problem. It isn't just about the algorithms. It is fundamentally about participation, representation, accountability, and critical awareness. AI is a reflection of us. It relies entirely on human societies to generate its reality. If we want better, fairer AI, we need a much broader range of voices and experiences involved in how these systems are designed, evaluated, and used. I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up. The next time you open a generative AI tool to write an email, draft a lesson plan, or create an image, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, whose experiences are shaping the reality staring back at you? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.